Hey everyone! So today we're going to dive into a really important topic: how to build accessibility into your course design right from the very beginning. And this isn't about just checking off boxes on a list, it's really about unlocking learning for every single one of your students. So let's start with the big question, right? How can you actually design a course that supports every student's success? Because accessibility isn't just about legal compliance or making accommodations for a few people. It's about creating this really robust learning environment where absolutely everyone has the tools they need to thrive. All right, so the first step is to kind of reframe how we think about this. We're moving away from a reactive checklist mindset to a proactive design philosophy. This shift helps create a genuinely more inclusive space for everyone, and that's especially true for our neurodivergent students, those with learning variations like ADHD, autism, or dyslexia. And that really gets to the core of it. When you design with accessibility in mind from the start, you're not just helping students with documented disabilities. You're actually making your content clearer, more organized, and easier to navigate for every single learner. And that just reduces confusion and the mental workload for the entire class. So the big question is, how do we actually do this? Well, luckily, there's a fantastic blueprint. The gold standard for building accessible learning environments is a framework called Universal Design for Learning, or UDL for short. Let's break down its three main principles. It's actually pretty straightforward. Okay, principle number one is all about the why of learning. How do we get students engaged, motivated, and excited about the material? This could mean something like offering a choice in assignment topics so they can connect it to their own interests. It's all about making the content feel relevant to their lives and building a really supportive community in the classroom. Next up is the what of learning. The reality is, our students all perceive and understand information in different ways. So this principle just encourages us to present key concepts in more than one format. Don't just rely on text. Mix it up with diagrams, audio clips, videos, whatever it takes to make sure everyone can really grasp the material. And finally, we have the how of learning. I mean, think about it. A traditional timed exam isn't the only way to measure what someone knows. For a big final project, maybe instead of just a term paper, you could offer a choice between that paper or maybe a podcast or even a video presentation. That way, students can play to their strengths. Okay, so UDL gives us the big picture philosophy, which is great, but now let's get down to brass tacks. How do we translate that theory into a practical checklist of things you can do in your course, like right now? It all starts right inside your course shell in Blackboard. A clean, logical, and predictable layout is your first line of defense against student confusion. And here's a really crucial test. Can a student get to everything and do everything using only their keyboard? If the answer is no, then some of your students are already hitting a roadblock. Now, this might seem like a small detail, but using proper document structure is absolutely transformative. Using the built-in heading styles in the right order, heading 1, then heading 2, not skipping levels, it doesn't just look nice. It actually creates a digital map of the page. For students using screen readers, this is a total lifeline. It lets them instantly understand the document structure and jump straight to the section they need. This is such a classic one and so easy to fix. A link that just says click here tells someone using a screen reader absolutely nothing about where that link is going. And listening to a super long URL being read out loud, that's just noise. But descriptive link text, it's clear, it's concise, and it's incredibly helpful. All right, let's hit a few quick best practices for your materials. First, tables should only be used for data, period. Don't use them to lay out your page. Second, make sure your PDFs have actual text that you can select and search. They shouldn't just be a flat image of a page. And of course, for any kind of media, you need alternatives: captions for videos, transcripts for audio, and descriptive alt text for every single meaningful image. You know that last point about alt text? It's honestly so important and often one of the trickiest things to get right that it really deserves its own deep dive. So let's take a closer look at how to handle those really complex visuals. Okay, take a look at this. It's a pretty complex infographic showing the evolution of dinosaurs, right? It's got a timeline, a big branching family tree, lots of little illustrations. I mean, where would you even begin to describe this thing so that it actually makes sense? Well, don't panic. There's strategy. You just start with a simple one-sentence summary, something like an infographic showing the evolution of dinosaurs. Then you work your way from the big, general concepts down to the specific details. Describe the timeline first, then the major branches of the tree, and then you can fill in the smaller details. The goal here is just clarity, not writing beautiful poetry. And this right here, this is the absolute golden rule of good alt text. It's all about conveying the meaning of the image, not just its appearance. You wouldn't describe this diagram as a ball with a plus sign hitting a ball with a minus sign. No way. You'd say a positron and an electron colliding to produce two gamma rays. You describe what the image is and what it means, not just what it looks like. So when you start putting all these pieces together, from the big UDL framework all the way down to a tiny piece of alt text, what happens? Well, the impact is profound. And believe me, it extends to every single student in your class. And this is the real payoff. This is why it all matters. Good, accessible design reduces the amount of mental energy your students have to waste just trying to figure out your materials. It frees up their brain power to actually focus on what you want them to learn. It is a massive win for everyone involved. And here's a pro tip. Don't be shy about your commitment. Just imagine the powerful message it sends when a student sees a statement like this in your syllabus. It immediately tells them, I see you, I value you, and I have designed this course with your success in mind. That's huge. And of course, we don't have to have all the answers. In fact, we shouldn't. The most valuable insights you're ever going to get will come directly from your students. Creating some simple, open ways for them to give you feedback lets you know what's working and what isn't. It really creates a partnership in their learning. So I want to leave you with this final question. You don't have to go back and overhaul everything overnight. That's overwhelming. Just think about this. What is one small, meaningful change you can make to your course this week? Maybe it's just fixing your hyperlinks or adding good alt text to one important image. Every single step forward helps create a more inclusive course for all.